Hi everyone, Teresa Aker here from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. It's my privilege today to introduce you to Jen Kline Clark. How you doing, Jen?
Excellent.
Good. I'm just going to read your biography and then we'll come back to you, okay? So Jen, she helps coaches, consultants, and service-based entrepreneurs attract more clients with clarity, confidence, and ease. So she does virtual coffees. Let's talk about all of that today, Jen. Let's talk about your history, where it all started, and what you're doing now.
Whew, okay. Goodness, Teresa, where to start. So I would say I got started, I say I have a curvy path that led to here. I went to law school, I got involved in education law, and when I came back to the East Coast, I had quite a reputation for my beliefs in how education law should go. And the mayor disagreed with me. And so I had to basically find a different way of doing work because I'd been a little bit too notorious, I guess. And I ended up being a part of helping nonprofits become more sustainable. And that ended up being really key to where I got to now, because I just was very good at helping going into a nonprofit, into an organization, and helping them become a healthier version of themselves. How could they generate more revenue and create better success in whatever that was for that business? And then I ended up doing that for Big Brothers Big Sisters on a national level, it was a lot of fun. I just had a lot of fun getting really good at finding what wasn't working in any particular in what that business was about. And then that whole time, that most of the time I was at Big Brothers Big Sisters, I was trying to I'd gotten married and we were trying to have a baby, and we had a really hard time staying pregnant. And with each pregnancy, I just kept getting more and more sick. And the doctor finally said, "Look, this isn't working. You're This is not going to end well for you. Go find other means." And so after 3 years of infertility, we then went on the route of adoption. It took us 3 years, but we met our son finally. He just missed his birth by 4 hours, but we got this our brand new baby. Crazy story of how he actually came to us, but all in all, it was wonderful. And we were thrilled, right? We were done. That was the end of that. But with that, I worked at a national position. I traveled quite a bit. And so it was great to end that chapter so that I could be home. And I was primarily just momming it for a little while. And and then he and I both realized we needed more. Like, he wanted more kid interaction, I needed more adult interaction. And so, like, around when he was 2, I ended up buying a newspaper, which I never saw that coming either. But I loved that combination. I was able to really flex what I did, how much time I spent with any one thing. And and it was all about advertising. It was all about helping that business, my advertisers, really create a name for themselves and how to tell that story well in a tiny little ad. And so I stacked in this how to create sustainable businesses from my previous life, now with how to tell a story really quickly and cleanly so that you differentiate yourself, while I was being mom to my son. And then when he was around 4 years old, out of the blue, we end up having this perfectly healthy pregnancy, which
Oh,
is
that's wonderful.
my daughter, which is just, we still, she's now 11, and we still are amazed that all came to be. But really, when I had her, I know people say, "Oh, yeah, I've heard that kind of story happen all the time." And yes, but it was 4 years later. So that it's not the typical story. It was, I was 42 when I had
Oh,
our
okay.
daughter,
Yeah.
and she was my seventh pregnancy. And actually, no, my seventh pregnancy, and my last pregnancy had been 7 years prior.
Oh
right?
my,
Because it was
okay.
pre-Oliver, pre the beginning of all of the infertility. So we didn't fit any standard of this being at all common. And yet, one, I was so clear. Like I just, it was meant to be. Like there's, I always thought that the two of them were meant to be together. And I wanted to be clear to my son, especially, that this was what was meant to happen, right? This was bigger than any of us. And this was a beautiful story of how to create a family. And so I wrote a children's story primarily for my son. I didn't want him going to school and having anybody else tell him that adoption wasn't anything other than the coolest thing ever. And so we wrote this story with that in mind. And but then as we were talking about it, everyone is, oh, that's exactly, we need that book. That doesn't exist. And really, there are no adoption stories that are no stories in children's literature for that scenario where there was adoption first and then a biological child, which is crazy because so many people tell stories like, oh yeah, that happened to my friend, and I know that story. So we were happy to have that out and have it be bigger than us. And so and now I can't think of the name of my book. That's so funny.
I was just going to ask, what's the name of your book? Okay, and listen, Jen, what's the name of your first name of your children? Just your son's name is
Oliver.
Oliver, and your daughter? Maggie. Very nice. Congratulations, by the way,
Good.
on both of them. I highly recommend adoption as well. It's a wonderful thing for families. If I'm not certainly not a practitioner or anything, but everyone I know that's adopted have been blessed. So that's great.
For sure. The blessing. It was amazing for all of us. We are beyond thrilled. It's exactly what was supposed to be.
Yes, absolutely. So well done. I'm very pleased for you and your husband to have a beautiful family. And then you write a book, but you have a toolbox full of things in your life. So you've done nonprofit, you've worked with so many organizations. It's unbelievable. You have all this knowledge. You were a lawyer. So all of this comes forward. And I like to say to when I do motivational speaking, it's a toolbox that you have. And over time, each amount of tools you have in there takes you to something else. So you have a chapter here, and now look at where you are now. So well done. And I know you're an author. What are you only writing now, or are you
Oh
doing?
no, now I primarily coach. So
You
the
do.
book was Love Changes Everything. That's the children's book that I wrote. I'm glad that came to me.
Yeah.
No, really, that was the primary book.
Okay.
And then from there, when I ended up selling the newspaper in 21, because so many of my advertisers had come to me for advertising and then stayed with me for years because they wanted that conversation that they were having with me about the marketing, about what they really should be doing and going deeper than just the ad. And so I ended up, and I was coaching more than I was
Okay.
selling. And I loved the build. I loved building my little newspaper. It became a really healthy,
Yeah.
thriving organization. And I put all these great automations and things inside. So I was able to sell it for that machine, right? And I ended up being, I love building the machine more than I wanted the day-to-day of it. And so from there, I was able to move into coaching full time. And so now I focus on typically women entrepreneurs, helping them create more sustainable businesses and helping to differentiate themselves with their messaging.
Okay. So as you in your coaching business, the name of your company is, can you tell me?
Yes factor.
I'm
The
sorry?
yes factor. The
Yeah.
yes factor.
Thank you so much. The X Factor. So with them, and I heard you saying you're coaching mainly women in organizations, or do you do individual coaching? What kind of coaching are you doing, Jen?
It's almost all one-on-one coaching.
Oh,
It's
okay.
for women that have their own businesses,
Yeah.
typically a personal brand. So they have this idea, they do this service that they've created and they want to put that out to the world. And they're great at what they do. What I find is I meet all these women who are just brilliant and do such good service and yet are struggling. They still haven't figured out how to find that flow. And it's because they're great at that service, but they're not so great at putting themselves out there in the promotion of it. So that's where I come in and I really help them find where are those leaks, where are you losing your prospects, and helping them create more sustainability.
That's really good, Jen, because I agree with that. Sometimes we're extremely good in certain areas, and other areas we just are not, and we almost freeze, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so someone like you can come in and say, oh no, you can tweak it here and here, and then they're on their way. And it just sometimes it just takes a professional to come in and just show you where the weakness is and help you out. The other thing is you don't want to spend too much time on an area you don't know, because now you're taking away what you do know. So a professional like yourself can actually be a good partner for that business.
Yeah, it's so true. I really, what you're saying is exactly right. There's so many women who are trying to figure out what's missing. And so they're paying for another course and another strategy. And more than likely, any one strategy could work for them if they just applied it and tweaked it to really speak to their message. And so it's not about buying yet another thing. It's about really looking at what is happening for your business that's going to connect with your people. And so I find that it's just a couple of major issues. They're not speaking to their ideal client well enough, like they're missing the target there, or they're not growing enough people so that there's not enough people that just know about them, right? So you just have to find where are those gaps and clean up the funnel so that people find you, they fall in love with you, and it's easy to buy from you. And then it really becomes a much easier way of running the business, which means you get to run your life better too.
Can you do me a favor, Jen? A lot of people talk about funnels. I have an idea, but can you stretch that out? What is a funnel?
Yeah.
What makes a funnel
Oh,
work?
I'm so glad you asked it because I really do think people have this like concept that
Yeah.
it's some technical thing. It's really not supposed to be technical. We can create it in automation, but really in its essence is how are people going to find out about you, right? You want to be able to grow the number of people who just know who Teresa Ecker is and how are they finding out about her. And that's at the top of the funnel. So you want a lot of people knowing about you so that the right people are then saying, I need more Teresa in my life. And then what do they do next? The people then that are raising their hands saying, that's cool. I love what she said there. What else does she have to say? Can easily take that next step with you. So they're like, okay, I loved that interview. I want to see all of her interviews. Okay, how easy is it for them to go and find all of your interviews? And then what's the next step after that? Is there a subscribe button? Is there a freebie where they can learn more about their next steps with you? And then because more than likely people are going to want to learn about you and they're going to what they have to say, and then they're like, but I'm not quite ready to put money down, so how can I learn more about you? So that's where you want to have a freebie or several freebies to based depending on who it is that you're trying to reach, and then having those, making sure that all of those things lead into the next step, right? So you're just making it easy for people to follow the breadcrumbs to working more and more with you.
Thank you, Jen. You actually made it completely clear for people to understand what a funnel is, because we certainly hear these words, but we don't necessarily know what they mean. And in the high-tech world, we want to all believe we know what, each one means, but it's not
Yeah.
as easy as it looks sometimes. And as you said, if we don't know, and our generation, if I might add, you're certainly a lot younger than me, but I didn't have that kind of knowledge. And so in my marketing background, it was the going to the doors or going to the companies and talking to them. It's entirely different online now. So there's all those things to consider. Can I ask you, Jen, could you elaborate on something in your coaching, maybe give some hints of what you do with your coaching? Any ideas that you could pass on?
So in just thinking about what you were just saying, Teresa, what I love to do is I do an audit where I'll look at all of your pages to see what's glaringly missing from this. And normally you can see that there's a couple of hot spots. And that's what I talked about is like the way you want to think through how someone finds out about you, falls in love with you, and wants to buy from you. But when you go to the websites, when you go to their social media platforms, does if I could just look at it, am I going to be able to tell that story? So we look to make sure that they're telling the story, that all the signs are pointing in the same direction. I've seen people who say they're self-employed, like that just doesn't tell us anything. So you
That's
want to
right.
just make it super easy for people to go through that nurture process with you. You want your links to work, right? So many times we create a new thing and then you forget about the old thing, so the link doesn't work anymore and people don't know it, or the link works and you might get the freebie, but then there's no email sequence to say, and here's how
Right.
else you can work with me. So all of those pieces is level one of what we do when we get together. Is we'll just make sure that we have all the signs pointing in that same direction to make it easy to say yes.
That's great, Jen, because absolutely simplification, that's the most important, making sure everything it's accessible, people understand the message, and they're able to reach out. So those are the three things, right? And
Yep.
then so you want your product in the right placement, right location, know where everything is. So from there, Jen, now I know you meet people one-on-one. Do you have online courses?
So right now, what I've been doing is I've been building the course as I've been talking with the people, right? So that I'm not trying to say everybody should go through this particular process. Typically, the women that I work with have been in business for a while, so they don't need who's your ideal client necessarily.
Right.
So I really try to give them the course as they need it. So I'll build out that 20-minute training that they can then get. And then so my library is building, but I don't have it at a place where I think everybody should be following the same steps, because you will likely have half of the steps. So it's about taking what you know, building upon that, and then going deeper with it so that you have this sexy, sustainable business that's doing everything it should.
So it's a more personalized system. I like that actually, because each person is different. Each business is different. So if you're
Yeah.
able to collect a number of ideas and courses to put together in the long run, then you can have a group of people that are similar that can take those courses. So I understand that, but they get the one-on-one personal touch from you, Jen. So that's terrific. And you're very personable, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
I really love working with people. Like, I'm not very good at the small talk, right? So I just want to, when I meet with people, I'm just like, okay, so what's going on? How can I be of help? Let's look under the hood together. And people are able to say things in this simplified way because I just want you to come in and just share. And from there, people are like, oh, I didn't even hear myself say. That's the problem. And so there's this uncovering that happens because they're comfortable in talking.
Perfect. I love that. And so now, and where are you from? Where's your home? Where are you
So I
from?
live outside Philadelphia.
Outside Philadelphia. Okay. So you do, but it doesn't matter where anybody is, they can connect with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say I probably have most clients are East Coast, but it's also Canada and the UK.
Good. I'm in Canada, Jen, just so you know.
Oh, great. Okay, awesome.
Absolutely. So our friends in the United States, we love to work with you guys and vice versa. So that's good.
Yes.
Jen, where do you see yourself going in 5 years?
Oh, I love that. So, well, the other piece of the story that I think is there is, while that is primarily what I do, is I help businesses with that, the marketing and I want you to have a business that's meeting your needs, not just because it's paying your bills, but it's doing the things that you wanted it to do, right? That I want to take the kids on that awesome vacation. I want to renovate the kitchen, whatever the numbers are. I want you to be able to know that your business is going to be able to meet you. And in January of 2020, my husband was given a ridiculous diagnosis that threw us for a loop, and we were really floored by it. And so I come from a family of doctors. I'm the non-doctor in my family, they all sat me down. Three different people, three different occasions. This is not a good diagnosis. This is not going to end well. I really think you need to get your things in order, thinking that he's not going to make it
Oh,
through
Jen.
the end of the year. It was a huge awakening. And okay, so I'll cut to the chase. He is thriving.
Oh,
We've
thank goodness.
we've beat
Thank goodness.
all medical diagnosis. We actually got kicked out of some Facebook groups that talk about his condition because no one is anywhere close to as healthy as he is. So that's wonderful. But the road to get there was really a hard one. And one of there's a couple of major pieces that happened along with that. But the one of them was we had completely built our life off of being a dual income family, right? And we live, we have a good life, but it was completely based on both of us having this 100% output. And he was going to be certainly going to not be doing what he thought. And I wasn't sure I was going to have him at all. So I thought I was going to lose that entirely. And I needed to be there to be taking care of him for a good chunk of at least that first year. And we were not in a position to do that. And I was just so angry with myself that I created this dependency, not just be not, I'm not talking about being dependent on him necessarily, but it was dual income, but also just dependent on time, that every dollar that I brought in was going to be because I was putting the time out there. And I really needed to create a different way of doing that. And I've started to revolutionize how I do business to have more small ticket items that I wouldn't necessarily call them passive, but more passive than the one-on-one coaching that I love. And I always want to be a part of what I do, but I couldn't have it be the only thing. And so I've changed my whole business as a result of that. And that's part of what I want to help other women do, is create sustainability for the long term, to rethink what financial independence really means to you, so that crisis can happen. You can go on vacation, like whatever it is, you can step away from the business as the business is there working on your behalf with or without you. So that's the bigger picture. So my 5-year plan is, I imagine I will always have some version of this business operating. I love it. I love being with people and helping women think so much bigger about what their business could be doing for them. And I imagine that it will keep going through its iterations of what exactly that means. I'm happy to say I totally look forward to working the next, I don't know, 10, 15 years, but I have no idea what that's going to look like. And I'm cool with that.
And you don't have to have all the answers.
I
Jen, I want to say to you that is extremely good advice. I did lose my husband about 4 years ago. It has been more
I'm
than four
sorry.
now, and it was devastating. We did not expect it. And you certainly do have to financially look at your life quite differently when you are expecting to have two people part of it. You go through a grieving process that is unbelievable. So if the viewers are listening to Jen, I think loud and clear, in my opinion, you really do have to plan your future based on what are you going to do. Nobody wishes anything on anyone, but absolutely you need to be independent. And that's not to say away from your spouse, in fact, together, but independent, so that you can work together on those future things. So well done, Jen. Also, I think it's just my opinion. Also, you need a few streams of income. So not just the two, but if each of you could have a few streams of income and think of it that way, because today times are different. It's not like you could just pay for all your bills with one person. You do need to have more than one income, I think. Would that be fair to say, Jen?
I totally agree with that. And really to allow yourself some diversity. Like so I had a newspaper that was the primary business that I ran, which was so much fun, but it was a free newspaper that you could pick up typically in like restaurants and things.
Sure.
And so it died almost overnight because of the pandemic. It was nobody wanted to pick up the paper that might have been picked up by other people. And so who knew what changes were, no one saw that coming. And so you don't know what's around the next corner and how that business is going to change in 6 months. So you want to have a variety of ways that the money is coming in so that you can handle circumstances that you don't even know that you need to be considering. Yeah, it is profound to really think about what is independence for you now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, right? It means so many different things, and you want to have the foundation to be able to move with all of that.
I agree with that, Jen. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing all of your story with us, because that was quite a heartfelt story, but it worked out very well in your favor. So we're happy
Yeah,
about that. Uh,
right.
Now, Jen, if anyone wanted to reach out to you today, I'll have all of your information, of course, here, but what's the best place they can reach you, Jen?
Really, I do spend most of my life in some kind of social media. So if they were to find me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, I'm Jen Kline Clark in all of them. As far as I know, I'm the only Jen Kline Clark out there. So it's pretty easy to find me. But you can also go to jenklineclark.com. But yeah, so any one of those, I would say.
Thank you. Jen, it was my pleasure to have you on today. I have one more question.
Yeah,
Will you come back and do another episode with me?
I would love to.
I would love you to come back. We have so much more we could talk about. And honestly, it was my pleasure to have you on today. So thank
That
you
was
very
great.
much, Jen.
I'm so glad that we were able to connect. It's great.
Absolutely. To everyone, absolutely reach out to Jen, go to her social media sites. I am thrilled that you're on today, Jen. To everyone else, this is Teresa Aker from Success Diaries with Teresa Aker. I hope you're having a great day. Please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon.